Yo boys, back with another video. Today we're doing another Rogue Mage video, and obviously we're still gearing. I'm on my alt Rogue this time. He's always obviously on the same mage he was. We've gotten a little bit more gear, but at the time we pretty much have nothing. Um, Overall, pretty good games. I mean, the only thing that we actually like consistently lost to was either a Ret Paladin or a BM Hunter, which usually I mean, you can't really beat a BM, but the Rets can lose. It's just when you're under geared with their amount of utility, a good Ret Paladin would never lose to a double DPS. Or not even a good Ret Paladin. Maybe all they have to do is just use all their buttons and they pretty much win. So here we have Double Rogue, which if they knew that my mage had no gear, they probably would just 100 on my mage. The best thing that you can do versus a mage is literally go the mage, especially as double rogue. All you do is one shadowy dose the first time, the other shadowy dose the second time, and then off block you kill him. Because usually you'll kill him through his alter time. You'll be able to get like cauterized and a bunch of stuff if you just restun his blink. So here he ends up blinding. I end up cheap shotting him through the cloak. He ends up kidding me. I think I trick it to try to kill, which is a big mistake. But I was like, alright, whatever. I vanish. At this point, we're kind of scared. We're not in the best spot here. I get him out here. He gets a DR cheap shot. The reason I didn't stun him because obviously it was DR'd. But so we end up getting a really good DR stun. So that probably allowed me not to die. So and he also didn't have blades up. So at this point, he's pretty much dead as long as we don't let him get a free re. Here we get a good old fashioned DB into a pretty much is GG. So I'm running here because obviously I have nothing, no trinket. He does have blades coming up, so had he played it smart, he could have actually killed me. So had he had blades up right on that kidney, he would have killed me. He ends up using it on my shadowy duel, or on his shadowy duel, so I just blind him. And at this point, game's over. He's just gonna sheep him, or I can gouge him. At this point, we're just gonna open on him, and the game should be over. Uh, Hopefully. Yep, the game's over. Boom. So DK Druid is kind of weird. You're going to start off on the DK and swap to the Druid, and then the main target's usually going to be the DK. Now, had this guy like AMZ to Arquebus go, it would have been a lot worse. But here I try to get him out here. The Druid ends up opening anyway. So here he opens me instantly. I see him Iceborne, and so we're just gonna not even gonna bother. So I'm gonna cloak offensively, and we get a huge go on the Druid here. He ends up not wanting to use a single button, so he ends up getting taken out. Had the DK AMZ'd instantly, he actually probably would have lived. Like he would have had like a 90% chance of living there, because like a lot of that bust damage was all the damage that we had. So thankfully we end up getting the dub. Here, the only time you ever go in Mistweaver is if you sap them on their port. So in this instance, I sap him right on his port. He doesn't even have a port up, I don't think. So here I'm going to blind the Shaman, and then we're going to resap the Mistweaver, wait till our mage gets here, and then open. Now at this point he has to trinket because he doesn't have a port up, and he has to trinket orb himself. Instead he ends up dying. Now had we actually had full gear, he would have been dead in like 3 seconds max. Because obviously people trying to hold CDs versus RM, there's no point. Whether it's the Shaman trinket grounding or the Mistweaver just being faster, putting down his port, and then getting away. Either way, we end up taking home the dub. And we go on to the next match here. So DH Priest, usually what you're going to do is you're going to run in, sap the DH, swap the sap to the Priest, and then open on the DH. Usually you're on your swap to the sap, so I sap DH, I'm going to sap the Priest. Usually my mage would DB the DH on my swap on the sap, but obviously we didn't care enough. So here we open, he ends up trinket doming, I end up shadowy doming him. Just a beautiful opener. So they both end up using everything. So this guy trinkets, he doesn't blur. Instead he goes for the dash. He dashes out of his Priest he's no longer can be in his dome, and we end up taking him out. So here's another game. Pretty much I make sure I grab the food just in case it's ever a 1v1 situation. So here I'm going to sap this guy. So he tried to hunt me, I sap him, I'm going to swap the sap, and then we're going to open on this guy. I'm going to most likely bomb late, or I'm just going to do damage. I Shadow Whittle right as my sap ends on the Mistweaver, and we end up taking out the DH. He decides not to click a single button, ends up getting taken out. Especially with a Fire Mage, the last video was when he was playing Arcane. Arcane is actually better, but if you don't have gear, if you're not like really good gear, Arcane's like just not the best. So if you don't have much gear, play fire. If you have, close to best in slot, play arcane. Because arcane damage-wise is a lot better. So here we're gonna sap. He's gonna DB the warrior. We're gonna open here. Might smoke bomb. Yep, smoke bomb. So we end up spacing the stun. It's whatever. Actually, we probably would have won the game in the opener had I not spaced it, but I decided to go for the bomb late. So that was a good old-fashioned mistake. But it's alright. So here he rings. So he runs into the ring. We're gonna swap to the priest. He sheeps the warrior. So really good ring. Even though it DRs the priest, it's like we're getting the swap that we want. So here we don't really get anything, not gonna lie. We get like intervene. So even though it was a good swap, it didn't really matter much. So here I'm trying to get a re-stealth. He's gonna leave to me. I'm gonna re-stealth for a second because I know the priest is gonna try to get me in combat. So I run around the corner and just in time I get the re, barely lining this guy. At this point, we're either gonna blind the priest and then he's gonna sheep off my blind, and then we're gonna open on the warrior. So again, I space the stun, trying to go for more damage. A bad play by me, but we end up getting trinket. We've already gotten trinket, so all we need now is to sheet the warrior whenever we're not doing anything, and I'm gonna vanish the root, reset my cooldowns. At this point, all we're going to do is we're either going to cheap shot the priest or kidney the priest and then stun the warrior. I gouged the pet here. So here I'm probably going to kidney whenever I know the mage can get the sheep. So here I kidney shot out of this sphere. He's probably going to block actually, so I'm going to try to stop it. This would have been a good time to have gouge for the warrior. So here I kidney. I'm going to cheap shot. I'm not going to secret tech because it's going to break the good old fashioned CC. Here we're going to blaze late and we end up taking him out through Guardian because obviously Guardian just heals you for 30% afterwards. So, getting that late blade, so if I hadn't vanished there, I wouldn't have blades up yet, and he probably would have survived. Thankfully, I got a really good abyss, and my mage got like some lucky pyro and we ended up taking him out. Very close call. Had they lived that go, they would have won. So, very close game. And for the last game, this guy actually ends up trying to like 1v2 us for like a minute at least. I guess he thought the mage could die because he didn't have block, even though it was not likely, especially when he has, alter time, kick. And at this point, I'm just gonna peel him off. I'm probably gonna gouge him here so my guy can drink. We'll see what happens. Or I could blind him. So I blind him off the fade. He trinkets the blind. My guy's just ring around the rosy on the priest. I'm gonna gouge him. Letting my guy drink. I'm gonna re-stealth and snap him. So at this point, the game's over. He's pretty much just gonna leave. And for the last game, ladies and gentlemen, another DH. So this guy didn't actually end up dying in the opener. So any DH out there, if you're gonna use the eyeball, make sure you use your immolation before you use the eyeball. So I can't do what I just did. So I just ended up opening on him here. I'm not gonna secret tech because obviously I'm not in Shadowy Duel, so there's no point. Here he ends up trinketing. So this is a perfect example of trading, but it was too late. So had he traded instantly on Bust and Blades, and he Trinket Darked, or he just Trinket Blurred, he probably would have saved a lot more cooldowns. So there we end up getting Trinket, and we get Darkness, and we get Swap. So we've gotten 3 CDs on one go, which is beautiful. At this point, I'm most likely going to try to sap the Priest, because I see he's not going to be in combat. So here I sap the Priest, we open on the DH, get a really good go here. I'm going to blind off my sap, even though it's going to be spaced. It's not going to matter too much because we get Trinket regardless, and PS. And then I'm going to Shadowy Duel defensively, and he ends up actually nethering my Shadowy Duel. So it must have been accidentally clicked. But here I gouge him and he nethers out of my, it was a questionable nether. Again, we're going to try to sap the Priest while he's around the corner. Because you gotta always look out. Boom, we get the sap, we get the pre-DB, and we do a beautiful set opener. He actually ends up living this opener. So even though we got a beautifully set opener, we just don't have the gear to take him out. So here I'm just gonna cheap shot. I'm gonna smoke bomb. I'm like, yo, get out of the ice block, kill this guy, because this guy's all the way up in the air. He has nothing, and the healer CC'd. So my guy is a caster, so he's just able to just PV him up in the air, and we win the game. So let me know what you guys think about this video. Obviously, it's a little bit of a shorter video, but if you guys want a guide on this, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, comment, like, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.